What's going on, everybody? It's Oscar season. And by Oscar season, I mean the Oscars are in like a couple of hours, so we gotta bust through this. I try to make it a point every year to see every single Oscar nomination. And this year was a pretty good year. There was a lot of really great movies nominated. A lot of great movies that weren't nominated. But that's besides the point. We're not talking about that. We're talking about what was nominated, and we're going to go through it. It took me... This is a hard task to complete, to see every movie nominated, because I'm going to be honest, I really did not want to see Avatar. I really did not want to go to the theaters and see Avatar. I really was not feeling it. I was not in the mood. But I saw it a couple days ago, so I've now completed every single movie, so I can now talk about and rank the Best Picture nominations. At the number 10, we got Elvis. I hated this movie, and I knew I was going to hate this movie, so I really didn't want to see it, but when it got nominated, I had to watch it, and this movie sucks. I think this movie's horrible. I'm shocked this movie's up for Best Editing, because the editing is the worst part. It made me want to rip my teeth out, put them back in, and then rip them out again. And on top of that, Tom Hanks is horrible in this movie. It ruins it. It, nearly ruins the whole thing. And Austin Butler, while he's good, he's not good enough to warrant seeing this 2.5 hour long movie by the guy who made The Great Gatsby. I thought this movie sucked. It was 2 out of 10. It's at the 10th spot. At 9, it's Avatar. It's the thing that kept me from making this video. And listen, I'll say this. Visually, this movie's stunning. It's amazing. And I was having a great time watching it for the first 45 minutes. But after those first 45, I started to get bored. And when your movie is 3+ hours long, if you're getting me bored at 45 minutes, that's not a good thing. Listen, I just think the plot, the story, the characters, I just think all of that stuff to keep me engaged is mediocre. So I didn't really care about what was going on. Sure, this movie's great to look at, but it's not great to absorb. This movie's a 5 out of 10. Maybe I'd like it on another rewatch, but I doubt it. It's in the 9th spot. We've climbed out of the dumpster, and we're into the good. And to start off the good, at 8, we got The Fabelmans. Now, I'll say this. I think The Fabelmans is just alright. I don't think it's great. It's just good. And I think it's fun to see Steven Spielberg's take on, a family movie. But the family stuff is, the worst part of this movie. Best part of this movie is when it shows Sam's love for filmmaking. That's the best part of the movie. And then there's the high school stuff, and it's just alright. I think some of the stuff in the high school stuff is charming, like his movie that when he shows the class and all that. But overall, this movie's it's super corny, and it is very charming, and that's the thing that held me into this movie and kept my attention. But this movie is so corny, and there's aspects that I could do without. But overall, not bad. It's a 6, putting it at the 8. At number 7, we got Top Gun Maverick. And I'm going to be honest, I did not think I was going to like this movie, at all. But I saw it, and this movie is a blast. I'd say 2022 is the year of spectacle. There were so many big spectacle movies, and this is a prime example. Listen, I don't care about Top Gun. I'm not even going to see... I haven't seen the original. I don't want to see the original. But this movie, it's a blast. I thought this movie was awesome. Miles Teller was really great in it. Tom Cruise was... he was Tom Cruise in it. I'll say this, the big climax where they're flying into the enemy base, I was on the edge of my seat. Near the end half, I was on the edge of my seat. This movie was really blew me out of the water, really blew my expectations. It's a nice 7 out of 10. 6, 7. I don't know, I'm not good with scores. 7, it's at the 7th spot. At the number 6 spot, we have Women Talking. Now, I didn't know this movie existed before it got nominated for Best Picture. And that's because it got released 2 weeks before the Oscars got announced. And I don't like when they do that. But whatever, because this movie's really good. This movie's very kind of 12 Angry Men-ish, where it's a big debate. And it's just pretty much just people discussing an issue and coming to a decision. And you find out the different characters' motives or backstories and why they want to make the decision they want to make. And it creates for a very encapsulating and enthralling watch. Across the board, I'd say all the performances were great, especially Jessie Buckley and Claire Foy. They were fantastic in this. I'm surprised none of them got nominated for anything. Well, I think the decision that they have to make, it's kind of obvious. I think overall, like, the kind of path that they have to take to get down to that decision is what makes this movie. And this movie is a great watch. If you don't like people talking, you're not gonna like this movie. But it kind of says it in the title. So it's like a strong 7. It's in the 7. It's in the 6. It's in the 6th spot. At number 5, we've got All Quiet on the Western Front, and this is a fantastic adaptation of a classic war story. This movie is very brutal. It's very dark. It's very depressing. And the movie cinematography and the set design and all that create this very bleak and dark World War I era setting. My big gripe with this movie is that I think some of the differences from the original plot that the movie make kind of make the movie a little far-fetched in a way. Like, having the last 30 minutes of the film take place on the last day of the war, it's a little much for me. And though it does work to make the ending a little more heartbreaking, this story's heartbreaking enough, and I don't think the movie really needed to make that change. But other than that, this is a fantastic adaptation of a classic story, and it's like an 8, and we're putting that sucker in the 5 spot. At the number 4 spot, we've got Tar, all right. Now, I'll say this movie definitely grew on me. I liked it a lot when I first saw it, but on a second watching, this movie really clicked with me. This movie is a great story about cancel culture and somebody being from the top falling all the way to the bottom. Without it being too corny, I feel like a lot of stories about this can be a little corny, but this movie refrains from that. The whole theme of this movie being surrounded by the phrase, "If it's not the consequences of my own actions," because Lydia Tarr is kind of a prick. And Cate Blanchett plays her phenomenally. I mean, I know Michelle Yeoh, a lot of people want her to win, but I really think Cate Blanchett should get it because she was fantastic in this. Overall, this movie's great. Seeing Lydia Tarr's fall from grace is just such a cathartic thing to see, and this movie's really amazing. We're putting it at the 4 with a strong 8. At number 3, we have Triangle of Sadness, and I wasn't even expecting to really like this movie. I'll be honest, I didn't even know what it was about. I just knew there was a boat. And this movie caught me so off guard. I can see people not liking this movie. I understand it, especially if you're uncomfortable with certain bodily fluids. This movie gets really gross, but I don't think it's done like distastefully. I think it's done quite funny. And the climax of the second act is just, it's insane. So much crazy shit happens in this movie. I think the third act is important thematically and for the story. I think it's a little too long. It definitely drags. I think the third act does not need to be an hour. It could be like 30 to 40 minutes and this problem would be alleviated. But this movie was a blast. I had a lot of fun with this movie. And again, I can understand people not liking it, but for me it's my 3 and it's a strong 8. Alright, we're at number 2, and this is where people are going to start calling me a contrarian and a loser. At number 2, it's Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now listen, I understand. This is the best movie of the year, and I think it should win the Oscar. This isn't what I think is the best movie. This is just what I enjoyed personally. And Everything Everywhere All at Once is a transcendent film. It's fantastic. Words simply can't describe how amazing this movie is. It's almost shocking that a movie like this exists, and the fact that it's getting as much recognition as it is. The fact that this is kind of a silly, wild action movie, but also has such deep, thematic, beautiful themes and ideas. And I can't even really say much that hasn't already been said, because this movie is fantastic. It's so good. This movie is amazing. I mean, if you haven't seen it, you have to go out of your way to see it, because this movie is incredible. It's a 10. It's a 10 for me. But it's at the 2 spot. And at number 1, it's Banshees of Inisherin. Listen, I know it's not a better film than Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I just enjoyed it more. I like the weird sense of humor. I like the drama that's weaved into the plot. And I think this is the best acted movie on the list. The movie itself is amazing. The plot of 2 best friends falling out of friendship with each other and coming to differences. It's very sad and it's very heartbreaking, but the extremes that they go to get back at each other is insane. This movie gets nuts by the end. Like, I can't believe their friendship comes to what it comes to. It just that narrative of these two friends just beginning to hate each other. It's just so heartbreakingly beautiful, and I had to put it the one. I had to put it the one just for my sake. Those are my Oscar picks. Can't wait to see the Oscars in a couple hours and watch them ruin everything and pick all the wrong movies. And Nope got snuffed. Thank you for watching.